anomalies or other unexpected events prevent the start of the landing sequence for the primary candidate site. In that case, additional orbits are performed to align the lander's trajectory with the new target sites and to allow for optimal use of lunar daytime after landing. During the landing sequence, the lander performs a series of automated actions. Approximately 1 hour before planned touchdown, the lander begins the deorbit insertion phase, firing its thruster to reduce its parallel altitude from approximately 100 kilometers to 25 kilometers. Continuing on its orbit, the lander moves to the far side of the moon, losing direct line of sight and communication with ground station. Onboard instruments are used to determine the distance from the lunar surface. The lander utilizes a power descent control algorithm developed by Draper Laboratories, using proprietary guidance, navigation, and control software, drawing from years of experience dating back to the Apollo program. In the final moments before landing, the lander relies on its assist thrusters to perform a soft touchdown. Attempting a lunar landing brings many challenges. This is truly a daring endeavor. The impact of landing is mitigated by a shock absorption system inside the landing gear. After landing, the lander performs initial checkout activities to confirm the integrity of the systems. Simultaneously, stable power delivery to all systems is resumed, and electricity is generated via the surface-mounted solar arrays. A high-gain antenna will be used when attempting to establish communications with ground station. Next, the deployment and operation of payloads begins, such as the UAE's Rached Rover as part of the Emirates lunar mission, a transformable lunar robot for the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, experimental devices, such as solid-state batteries by Terra, and multiple payloads within the Canadian Space Agency's LEAP program. On Mission 1, surface operations are expected to last approximately 10 days, effectively using lunar daytime for the lander and its payloads to perform various tasks. Among others, and representing the first such transaction of its kind, ownership of Lunar Regolith is planned to be captured by the iSpace Series 1 lander during landing, and will be transferred to NASA as part of the Artemis program. As the first mission of the Series 1 lander, data collected during the entire mission duration will contribute towards future developments, and will help to improve the performance and reliability of iSpace's hardware during its next missions. Mission 2 is currently planned for 2024, and testing has already begun, with several customers already standing by to have their payloads transported to the moon. Planned for 2025, Mission 3 will be utilized for the fulfillment of NASA CLEP's task orders as a member of Team Draper. Preparations are underway and are progressing rapidly. We're aiming to perform the world's first lunar landing by a commercial enterprise. This is the beginning of our vision to create a cislunar economy. iSpace is in it for the long run, and we're just getting started. Never quit the lunar quest.
Hello everyone, this is Hiroshi Yamakawa, President of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA. I'm sure you are all very excited to be watching the moon landing on iSpace's M1 mission. Currently, the United States, Japan, and many other countries are planning lunar exploration missions. These missions will be conducted through international cooperation and in collaboration with many industries. While many players are aiming for the moon, the M1 mission will be the first commercial attempt by a private company to land on the moon. I'm very happy and proud that the Japanese company is about to achieve this challenge. The iSpace lunar lander also carries a transformable lunar robot, the result of joint research between JAXA and private companies. The data acquired by the robot will be used for research and development of a crewed pressurized rover, and will contribute to Japan's future space exploration activities. JAXA will steadily carry out the mission of the transformable lunar robot and pass the torch to future lunar exploration missions. Lastly, I wish the M1 mission a successful landing on the moon.
Dear colleagues and friends, as Director General of ESA, it is my special pleasure to convey my best regards to the landing event to the Hakuto R Lunar Lander Mission 1 of iSpace. Under commercial contract with iSpace Europe, ESA was and is responsible for ensuring communication between the spacecraft and its teams on Earth through the mission. The agency's global network of tracking stations is used to transmit commands to the spacecraft and receive scientific data and status information from Mission 1 and the experiments carried out on the Moon. The mission underpins the successful cooperation between ESA and iSpace. Such collaboration schemes between new space companies and space agencies open up exciting opportunities for the future of lunar exploration and other domains. Accounting for new space approaches is also a central element of ESA's Agenda 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm convinced that the Hakuto R Mission 1 is only the beginning of many fascinating projects and activities to come. And I wish you a successful event and a very happy landing. Thank you.
Hi, I have been following the M1 mission with great attention. I am confident that this mission will provide precious data and experience which will support iSpace commercial development in the years to come. iSpace has been among the first space resources-focused companies to come to Luxembourg, and we are very proud to have been able to support the team since the very beginning. After the successful listing of iSpace on the Tokyo Stock Exchange beginning of April, we look forward to the next chapter of iSpace success story, and particularly to the M2 mission, which will onboard a rover made in Luxembourg.
Ariane Group provides the key element of the propulsion system for the lander and the assembly and integration facilities. Our orbital propulsion teams supported iSpace with the integration and the testing of the entire vehicle in our clean rooms in Lampolshausen, as well as in external facilities in Germany. In addition, iSpace and Ariane Group have teamed up under an ESA commercial partnership pilot phase to provide Europe with an integrated transportation system to the Moon, combining the Ariane 6 launcher and the iSpace lander. With this M1 mission, iSpace has become the first commercial company to reach lunar orbit. The landing attempt will mark first use of an Ariane Group propulsion system for landing on the Moon, regardless of the outcome. The iSpace M1 mission is a huge accomplishment. This is a striking example of synergistic collaboration between what some would call an established space company and new space companies. iSpace is a very dynamic and innovative new space company. We appreciate their trust and their agile and efficient ways of working with us. This demonstrates Ariane Group's ability to provide state-of-the-art equipment and support to new space companies. Good luck for the landing.
Three, two, one,
Hello and welcome to our global live stream of the planned lunar landing of Mission 1 in iSpace HACTO-R program. The main language of this event is English, but you can watch and listen with simultaneous Japanese translation by accessing the stream on our HACTO-R channel. My name is Kevin Zaleski and I am the MC for today's event. Thank you very much for joining us. Many of you may have followed the launch of Mission 1 last December. Now, after several months of operations in space, our Series 1 lander is quickly approaching one of the most exciting moments during Mission 1 in our HACTO-R program, first ever private lunar landing. For those of you not familiar with us, iSpace is a global lunar exploration company engaging in the lunar quest. Our vision is to expand human activity into space and to develop the future cislunar economy by offering reliable payload delivery and data services. iSpace has 3 offices, its headquarters in Japan, as well as steadily growing offices in the US and Luxembourg. Our first commercial lunar exploration program, planned lunar landing on Mission 1, which will not only use our next generation Series 2 lander, but will also deliver payloads for the NASA CLIPS program, lunar orbit, and surface. iSpace is a member of Imagine that everyone is super excited to land on the real moon today. Our Series 1 lander on Mission 1 is being monitored from the HACTO-R Mission Control Center, or MCC, during its descent towards the lunar surface. As you can see in this live feed, our team is getting ready for landing.
Based in our data, in which you will be able to follow the whole landing sequence. For us, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, and Janelle is going to explain why.
Now, the reason why it's a little more difficult for us is because, one, all we can do during this time is monitor the lander because the landing sequence is actually autonomous. So, another reason why it's going to be a little difficult is because during the landing sequence, we're going to experience something called an occultation. Now, an occultation is something that occurs when the moon is between the lander and our ground station on Earth. So during our landing sequence, you can see our lander is going to come behind the moon like so, and for about 40 minutes, we're going to lose communication with it. And then, only until we pop out the other side will we have communication again and be able to see our lander autonomously land on the moon.
As we heard from Janelle earlier, the lander is expected to have already performed its deorbit insertion maneuver autonomously. As you can see on our live status display here, our lander is now on the moon's far side and heading for its designated landing area. We expect to re-establish communication in approximately 30 minutes. Now, I would like to give the word to iSpace founder and CEO Takeshi Hakamada.
Hello, my name is Takeshi Hakamada, founder CEO of iSpace. In 2010, a small company with a big vision was born. And after 13 years and meeting many colleagues and supporters, we have reached to the day when our lander will land on the moon. In the early days, not many people believed that we could actually land on the moon. But we kept believing and worked very hard, and as a result, I'm really proud to be here with you today. Since our Mission 1 launch in December last year, our lander and our team have already achieved amazing things, succeeding operation of privately funded and developed hardware and software and payload in space for over 100 days. Now we are getting close to our destination for Mission 1, lunar landing and surface operation. However, I want to emphasize again that our accomplishment, 8 out of 10 milestone successes, will contribute toward the development of our next missions, Mission 2 and Mission 3, which already have started in parallel. I want to thank everyone for their contributions. And I really excited to see the outcome of this critical moment of Mission 1. And I cannot wait to apply everything we have been learned toward our future missions. Everything we have achieved until this point, we already considered tremendous success. Thank you, and let's land on the moon.
Thank you, Hakamada-san. We're very excited to give you a closer look at the status of our lander and what we expect to happen today. But first, let us hear from iSpace CTO Ryo Ujie for details about our achievements during Mission 1 so far and what we hope to achieve today.
So Ujie-san, can you tell us a little bit about the Mission 1 milestone?
Okay, yeah, sure. And as you know, in total we have a 10 success milestone, but we have already completed 8 of 10 milestones. And let me explain our achievement one by one. Then our first milestone, success 1, is a completion of launch preparation. Because even before launch, we had to do a lot of things, including testing, assembly, integration, and so on. That was also really great achievement for us. And then after that, success 2 happened. That is like a separation from a launch vehicle. Because during the launch operation, the lander needed to withstand really harsh mechanical conditions. Then success 3 came. Success 3 is a completion of initial critical operation. That was a really critical moment for us. But finally, we established really stable communication, attitude, and power condition of the lander. Then after that, in order to fly to the moon, we need to control our the trajectory, lander trajectory. Then, we carried out the first orbital control maneuver. Then we achieved the success 4. Then after 1 month steady flight operation, success 5 came, and then we kept operating a few more orbital control maneuver. Then, when we were ready for the first lunar orbit insertion maneuver. That is success 6. And then success 7 is the moment to enter the lunar gravity region. Then the lander carried out really long run to enter the gravity region. And that was also really critical operation, but we successfully completed that operation too. Even during the lunar orbiting phase, we carried out a few more orbital control maneuvers, and then now we are ready for the landing sequence. And now we are in success 8. Then we will move on success 9. Success 9 is the completion of our landing sequence. Landing sequence itself is just one of the most critical moment in our mission. Then if we successfully land on the moon and then establish steady communication and power status, finally we deployed our customer Rover and then complete success 10.
Okay, so there are 10 milestones. Do you think you could tell us a little bit more about some of the critical moments that you experienced?
Okay, definitely the success 3. And success 3 is the completion of initial critical operation. In general, of course, this is the really critical moment for all spacecraft. But even in our case, we were struggling with the completion of this success milestone because the communication and the attitude were not as our plan. But our flight team showed really great performance, and then finally we achieved this moment. And this success gave us more confidence in our flight capability.
So you mentioned several times about maneuvers. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, yes. The maneuver means orbital control maneuver. When we carry out the orbital control maneuver, we always use this our main propulsion system. Then by carrying out this orbital control maneuver, we can control the trajectory of the lander. Then even when we enter the lunar gravity region, we also need to carry a really long orbital control maneuver operation. It is a more than 7 minutes burn. Burn means we need to keep activating this propulsion system more than these 7 minutes. And that was a really critical operation. And then we were really nervous about that. Then this is also great achievement to carry out this type of really critical operation as a commercial space startup. Then this Success 7, the achievement was a really great moment for us.
So there are actually quite a few milestones. Why did you choose to set 10?
Okay, yeah, because our mission is not zero-sum game. In each steps, we can learn a lot of things. We can gain a lot of experience, knowledge, and we can also prove our flight capability in each step. Then we set a 10 milestone. And in each milestone, we have experienced different, operation, and we proved different capability. Then we set a 10 milestone and to show our capability. And then based on this milestone, we can reflect our lessons learned into the future mission.
Thank you, Ujie-san. Now we welcome Yoshitsugu Hitachi, our lead lander system engineer, who oversees the overall integration of our lander system and payloads. Welcome back, Hitachi-san.
Thank you, Kevin.
So, our CTO Ujie-san just told us that we have achieved milestone 8 already. Looking at our status display, where do you think we are now with our lander?
Yes, Kevin. So, as our CTO Ujie-san just explained, so we have completed all the milestones up to Success 8, which means that we are ready for the landing sequence. That means we are now moving towards Success 9, which is lunar landing. So as you can see, the lander is now currently on the back side of the moon and waiting for it to establish a communication with the ground station and reappear from the back side of the moon to finally land on the sun side of the moon.
Thank you, Hitachi-san. And with the planned lunar landing approaching quickly, let us have a look at a summary of today's expected events.
We're going to the moon, and we're just getting started. After 100 days of deep space cruise, the Series 1 lander arrived at lunar orbit. The successful completion of this long voyage not only validates the Series 1 lunar lander design, it represents the completion of a series of successes for iSpace, the verification of our communication technology, structural design, software, maneuver operations, and others, all while having overcome unexpected issues and hurdles along the way. After completing a series of orbital control maneuvers, the lander is scheduled to initiate its automated landing sequence from lunar orbit. Throughout this phase, the lander continues to orbit the moon while approaching its designated landing area. Other than the primary landing location in Atlas Crater, 3 alternative sites can be targeted in case that any anomalies or other unexpected events prevent the start of the landing sequence for the primary candidate site. In that case, additional orbits are performed to align the lander's trajectory with the new target sites and to allow for optimal use of lunar daytime after landing. During the landing sequence, the lander performs a series of automated actions. Approximately 1 hour before planned touchdown, the lander begins the deorbit insertion phase, firing its thruster to reduce its parallel altitude from approximately 100 kilometers to 25 kilometers. Continuing on its orbit, the lander moves to the far side of the moon, losing direct line of sight and communication with ground station. Approximately 45 minutes later, the lander reappears from behind the moon and begins its braking burn to slow down its descent. Onboard instruments are used to determine the distance from the lunar surface. The lander utilizes a power descent control algorithm developed by Draper Laboratories, using proprietary guidance, navigation, and control software, drawing from years of experience dating back to the Apollo program. In the final moments before landing, the lander relies on its assist thrusters to perform a soft touchdown. Attempting a lunar landing brings many challenges. This is truly a daring endeavor. The impact of landing is mitigated by a shock absorption system inside the landing gear. After landing, the lander performs initial checkout activities to confirm the integrity of the systems. Simultaneously, stable power delivery to all systems is resumed, and electricity is generated via the surface-mounted solar arrays. A high-gain antenna will be used when attempting to establish communications with ground station. Next, the deployment and operation of payloads begins, such as the UAE's Rached Rover as part of the Emirates lunar mission, a transformable lunar robot for the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, experimental devices, such as solid-state batteries by Nuterra, and multiple payloads within the Canadian Space Agency's LEAP program. On Mission 1, surface operations are expected to last approximately 10 days, effectively using lunar daytime for the lander and its payloads to perform various tasks. Among others, and representing the first such transaction of its kind, ownership of lunar regolith is planned to be captured by the iSpace Series 1 lander during landing. It will be transferred to NASA as part of the Artemis program. As the first mission of the Series 1 lander, data collected during the entire mission duration will contribute towards future developments and will help to improve the performance and reliability of iSpace's hardware during its next missions. Mission 2 is currently planned for 2024, and testing has already begun, with several customers already standing by to have their payloads transported to the moon. Planned for 2025, Mission 3 will be utilized for the fulfillment of NASA CLIPS task orders as a member of Team Draper. Preparations are underway and are progressing rapidly. We're aiming to perform the world's first lunar landing by a commercial enterprise. This is the beginning of our vision to create a cislunar economy. iSpace is in it for the long run, and we're just getting started. Never quit the lunar quest.
Now, as explained during the video, our Series 1 lander continues to orbit the moon while getting closer and closer to the surface. There is no communication link with the lander for a large portion of this process, but the required actions are pre-scheduled and the lander executes them according to our calculation. Let us hear a bit more about what exactly we expect to happen until planned touchdown, again from Hitachi-san. So Hitachi-san, tell us a bit about the expected initial status of our lander before landing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin. I'm pleasure to be here to explain all the sequences of the landing. So basically, we do have 6 different phases, as I think the animation showed previously. So all those phases are very important to achieve the successful landing. So as you can see, the first step, what we're calling phase 1, this is deorbit insertion. So deorbit insertion is short run of our main engine to deorbit the circular lunar orbit and enters into a new trajectory for the landing. So in this phase, we are still the lander is at a very high speed, about 6,000 kilometers per hour, and then do less than a minute of a main propulsion system, to fire the main propulsion system to do this run.
I see. And what happens next?
And the next step is the cruise landing phase. So in this phase, the lander cruises in this new trajectory after DOI. So in this phase, basically the velocity doesn't change much, but the altitude changes drastically from 100 kilometers to 25 kilometers. And so basically the lunar gravity is still pulling the lander to decrease the altitude and up to 25 kilo. And this phase actually lasts between 40 and 50 minutes in the entire sequence. So the entire sequence is about 1 hour and 7 minutes, but this phase is actually the longest phase in the mission. And also the very important point is that after the phase 2 is completed and before the next phase starts, the lander is expected to reappear from the backside of the moon again.
I see. And what happens in the next phase?
Yes, so next phase is phase 3. So this is a braking burn phase. So braking burn phase is, as it says, we are going to start braking. It means that we're going to reduce the speed for the landing. So as you can see now, the velocity now, we are changing the velocity from 6,000 km per hour to up to 100 km per hour. So basically, we are going from the spacecraft speed to like a Shinkansen speed now to land on the board. So then altitude also changing from 25 kilo to 3 kilo in this phase.
So the lander gets closer and closer to the moon and keeps going down. What happens next?
Yes, the next phase is phase 4. So in phase 4, the lander still continues to brake, but still going over about 300 km per hour. So it's still at the Shinkansen speed, but then it's changing the orientation to a vertical orientation, pointing its the thrusters straight down to the lunar surface. So as you can see, at the end of this phase, the lander is going to be only 1 kilometer above the lunar surface.
And next it gets really interesting, doesn't it?
Yes, this is very exciting, and those phases, all of the phases are most important, but those number 5 and number 6 are I can say the most important phases in the entire sequence.
Thank you. And then the moment everyone is waiting for, the final phase.
Yes, so the final phase is phase 6. So this is terminal landing. So here, the velocity is now just to 70 km per hour. So now it's changing from Shinkansen speed to the bicycle riding speed. And eventually, at the end, it's going to walking kind of pace. So then altitude is changing from 20 meters to 0. So this is the very last moment of the landing, and we are going to shut down the main engine and relies only on the assist thrusters to adjust the altitude and for the final moments, and hopefully for the soft landing.
Thank you, Rachid-san. We are all rooting for our lander getting closer and closer to the lunar surface. And now let's have a look maybe at our status screen again. Rachid-san, where does this put us in the landing approach right now?
Yes, so I think the phase 1 have been already completed, expected to have already completed by now. So we are now in the phase 2, which is a cruise phase. So the lander should be now descending from the altitude of 100 kilo towards 25 kilo. So we are in the middle of that process right now.
Thank you, Rachid-san. And Hakamada-san, are you slowly getting a little bit nervous?
Not at all. I'm just watching a successful landing.
Thank you very much. And now I would also like to welcome distinguished guests on our stage today. The first is Professor Yuichi Tsuda. Professor Tsuda not only teaches at Tokyo University, but is also in charge of the Hayabusa 2 program at the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Tsuda-san, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for letting me be here. And I'm really excited to witness this great event. And congratulations to Hakamada-san and the iSpace team for the success so far. And I was leading the mission called going to do is to send a spacecraft to a celestial body that has 20,000 times higher gravity than that of Ryugu, only with the power of the private sector. So what a challenge. So if this is not a challenge, nothing can be called challenge. So I think the history
dreams. So iSpace teams, you are all excellent dreamers. So I hope all your success, and more importantly, I'm an engineer. So from the engineering point of view,
get as much data as possible throughout this learning process and recall all the experience throughout this mission for the more sustainable lunar activity that you are going to do, and to expand this lunar exploration activity to a more global one. So Godspeed iSpace, Godspeed Actuar. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tsuda, and we wish you all the best with your future endeavors. Please enjoy the show. Next, I am happy to welcome Airbus Ventures Manager, partner Thomas Delaware here on stage with us. Airbus Ventures has been one of our first international shareholders, and they possess a strong insight into the global space industry.
Thank you, and first, congratulations, Akamada-san, the entire iSpace team, on this historic moment.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for bringing all of us closer to the moon and to the moon, right? So Airbus Ventures, Louis, my friend, and the entire team, we cannot be more proud today to be here joining in this extraordinary milestone for the space economy. Maybe a word about the moon. We at Airbus Ventures and you at iSpace value the moon as a vital system component in harnessing natural resources in order to deliver clean energy, rare metal, but also a biosphere-friendly manufactured product to Earth. But the moon's development is also critical for alleviating the compounding stresses that we've seen on Earth's climate and Earth biodiversity. This is also a tremendous opportunity, a business and economic opportunity that now we see iSpace uniquely positioned to pioneer. So this world is full of planetary system challenges. iSpace now, with the talent, the global mindset, but also this sustained vision and the thorough execution and the global team building along these years of development, is a key actor to address those planetary challenges. So our message to the team is to keep going. The moon is a way, and please again, congratulations for this historic moment. Thank you, Akamada-san. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Delaware, and we are very excited for what the future may bring for private space. Now, I'm very excited to welcome another iSpace crew member here at our venue. Scott Moon, our lead assembly, testing, and integration manager, who helped not only build the Series 1 lander for Mission 1, but who is already working on our Mission 2 lander. Hello, Scott, and please take a seat and tell us a bit more about how the Mission 1 lander came into existence.
Sure, Kevin. So I had the good fortune to join iSpace in November 2020, and in April of 2021, the iSpace team was deployed to Germany to begin building the M1 lander. We spent the next year in Germany building the lander in those facilities, and after 1 year we moved to Munich to start our test campaign on that lunar lander. When we were in Munich, we ran tests that allowed us to simulate the environment that we would see in deep space. We ran tests to simulate the environment we would see during the SpaceX Falcon 9 launch. And we ran tests of all of the systems that we needed to use while we were in orbit, while we were descending, and while we were in operation on the moon. Once we finished all those tests, we packed up our operations in Germany, and we flew on a specialized cargo transport over the Atlantic to arrive at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral. The AIT team personally escorted the lander over. Once we landed in Florida, we spent 2 months with our launch preparations, which included fueling the lander and doing a final systems checkout. After those 2 months, we said goodbye to our lunar lander. We put it inside the fairing, and it was integrated into the launch vehicle to be launched in December of 2022. That's basically the M1 story in a nutshell.
Thank you, Scott.
Welcome.
And again, thank you for your hard work. Now, of course, our Series 1 lander is not going to the moon empty-handed. It is carrying several payloads, expected to start operations on the lunar surface after landing. Let us hear about our payload customers on M1 from iSpace Chief Revenue Officer Atsushi Saiki. Saiki-san, tell us, who is going to the moon with us?
Okay, thank you, Kevin. On Mission 1, we are carrying a number of government and commercial payloads. Our payload service does not only consist of bringing something to the moon, but also iSpace closely communicate and coordinate with its customers to integrate each payload into the lander and its system. Secondly, the payloads are tested before the launch to verify their ability to survive the long journey to the moon. And iSpace further offer power delivery and communication service to payloads that require it during transit to the moon, as well as after successful landing. Throughout the mission, our Series 1 lander also offers protection from the harsh environment of space by providing thermal control and other services. Our payloads on Mission 1 vary in size, mass, and objectives. Some of them are mobile, and we plan to deploy them from our lander after touchdown, such as the MBRC Rashid Rover and the JAXA transformable lunar robot. After deployment, these rovers will begin their mission objectives on the lunar surface while sending and receiving data and commands via our Mission Control Center in Tokyo. Other payloads will stay integrated into the lander. We carry experimental solid-state battery for Nitera, which perform verification tests of this new battery technology under extreme environment in space and the lunar surface. Further, we carry several payloads within the Canadian LEAP program, an AI-powered flight computer by MCSS, as well as a camera system featuring wide-angle cameras by Canadensis. Further, our partnership program involves cooperations from various industries and fields in the exciting new challenge towards the moon. We cooperate with companies as you can see on the screen here. We believe that the transport and operation of these payloads provides an exceptional value to our customers, not only in terms of space and lunar exploration, but also in the development of new technologies that could benefit human society on Earth in the future. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Saiki-san. And we are all super excited to bring more and more companies to the moon. Yes. Now, for a bit of background on how our lander and its payloads are deployed and operated after landing, let's hear it from our MCC crew again.
Thank you.
As soon as our spacecraft detects contact with the lunar surface, it will go to TDM, which is touchdown mode. It will cut off the engines and make sure that we're stable on the lunar surface. After that, we'll perform many checkouts to make sure every system and our customers are still working as expected.
One of the first things that we will do is deploy our high-gain antenna when we're on the surface. So our high-gain antenna will allow us to download all of the data and pictures and photos that we've taken throughout our mission. The lunar environment is completely different than the environment we've been facing up until this point. Most people probably think the moon is this cold, desolate place, but it can get very hot in the sunlight, up to 120 degrees C. So the first thing we'll do again is a full checkout of our system.
And once we have our high-gain antenna, which allows us to send much more data back to Earth than we could in cruise, then we're ready to deploy our customer rovers. The bigger one is the MBRS Rover. So it has been flying up here. Once it's time to deploy, the arm folds down with the rover on it, and then we release the rover and it can drive off to go do some great science.
Thank you to Katie and Haroon, and all the best during those first moments of surface operations. Now, we are happy to have a quick message from a very special guest, Yamazaki Naoko-san, a former JAXA astronaut who flew on the space shuttle to the International Space Station, will very soon be connecting remotely with us. Yamazaki-san, hello, can you hear us?
Hello, Kevin. Yes, I can hear you very well, and congratulations for your achievements so far. Yes, I am so thrilled and honored to be with you for the upcoming historic moment, first ever private lunar landing. First of all, I'm so proud of the entire iSpace team, including families, for the remarkable achievement to get this point. As an astronaut, I cannot overstate the importance of this mission, which expands our frontier for all humankind. My dream is to open a school on the moon someday so that various students from various countries and regions can learn together on the moon, watching the Earth from a distance. The moon has a huge potentials in many ways, so it is important M1 and following missions will secure high-frequent transportation to the moon, which will secure human presence on the moon and allows us to have a big dream. Also, as a member of the temporary member of the National Space Policy Committee of Japan, M1 means a lot to governments too. iSpace is the first company to be covered by Space Resources Act in Japan and awarded a contract with NASA for lunar resources. And M1 contains UAE's lunar rover and Canadian Japanese payloads and so on. When I visited iSpace Mission Control Center in Tokyo a couple of months ago, I had the privilege to write a message on the wall, and I wrote, "Fly our dreams to the moon." So thank you very much for flying our dreams to the moon. So proud of your never give up spirits. All the best and Godspeed.
Thank you so much, Yamazaki-san, and it's always a great pleasure to have you with us. Now, let us have another quick look at our status screen. Hitachi-san. Looking at the status screen, I hope we have it now here soon. Yes, what phase would you put us on now, more or less?
Yes, I believe the lander is still in the phase 2, that's a cruise phase. So, as I said, this phase takes about 40 to 50 minutes. So I hope that in about in the 10 minutes or so, I hope that the next the braking burn starts. But at the moment, I believe that the lander still is in the cruise phase, flying with a speed of 6,000 km per hour. But altitude now, you can see the altitude. Altitude is now getting now closer to 25 kilo from the surface.
Thank you, Hitachi-san. And Hakamada-san, we soon hope to regain contact with our lander. Are you looking forward to meeting him again?
Yes, I'm really looking forward to reconnect our lander and then start the next phase of the landing.
Thank you. And while we wait, let's see where exactly our lander is planning to set down on the moon.
We are collaborating with a group of international experts to have finding suitable landing sites on the moon. This can allow the missions to have 12 days of sunlight on the lunar surface. Let's start with where are these 4 candidate landing sites?
Well, we're having 4 landing sites. One prime landing site, which is the most exciting one we find, which is at Atlas Crater. And we have 3 backup landing sites. One is not too far from the prime landing site, which is Lago Sogno. one in the Western Hemisphere, where we have Oceanus Procellarum and Sinus Iridum. All of our landing sites are in the Northern Hemisphere and are very exciting for the scientific potential and are well suitable to act as backup landing site in case landing does not work off any of the others.
We selected our site using both scientific and technical criteria. So for instance, we want to go to a place relatively flat, devoid of boulders, but we also want to maximize some science output with having some geological diversity. And in order to proceed, we collected data from space missions currently orbiting the moon that we processed. We tried to translate our criteria into calculation steps, and then we came up with a list of possible sites that we scored and we ranked.
I think from the beginning, the landing site selection working group started with having safety in mind, safety of landing, and also safety of Rashid Rover traversing the moon. Rashid Rover is designed to overcome obstacles of up to 10 centimeters of height, and also to drive over slopes of maximum 20 degrees. When we reach there, definitely we have a lot of ideas to do a lot of science experiments. We are going to study the regolith on the landing site, and also we are going to study the thermal characteristics, and also we have nice, exciting ideas on experimenting with different materials, interacting with the regolith on the landing site.
So my role was to further optimize our landing site selection, make sure that there was alignment with both our lander team here in iSpace as well as our other customer payloads, as well as to establish our own science objectives to help with the continuous improvement of iSpace lander and rover exploration missions into the future. Each of the 4 selected landing sites are incredibly unique and will offer fantastic scientific value, and they're just really exciting opportunities.
To land on any of the given landing sites, we have to make sure the spacecraft is passing over it. But then as the moon rotates over its own axis, we only have one given opportunity every lunar month, right? So every 28 days. So in order to minimize the time that passes between any of the prime and any of the landing opportunities, in case there's any deviation from the nominal, then we selected these 3 landing sites that will be accessible within just a few days.
And a big thank you to all colleagues at MBRSC, CRPG, iSpace Europe, and everyone else who contributed to this very critical part of Mission 1. Now, while we wait for the lander to reappear from the far side of the moon and reconnect with our ground station, let us hear about what we can look forward to over the next couple of years. I welcome iSpace Director and Chief Finance Officer Junpei Nozaki.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So while I wait for Mission 1 landing, let's talk about the future. So we have Mission 2 next year and Mission 3 in 2025. And let me explain. Mission 2 will use a Series 1 lander, same as right now in the space, but we'll also bring a micro rover, which currently our Luxembourg team is developing. And also for Mission 3, right now, our next generation lander, Series 2 lander, is manufactured in the US, Colorado, Denver. And this will bring 2 satellites to the lunar orbit. And also, they will land on the far side, Uragawa, of the moon. So this is a very fantastic mission going forward in 2025. And also, Mission 3, we're going to bring NASA payload under a program called CLIPS, Commercial Lunar Payload Service. So we will contribute to a NASA Artemis program too. So next page. I like to stress most important thing about the sustainable business model. So we are not a company doing just one single mission, but rather we are doing 3 missions at the same time all together. This is very important because while we are doing Mission 1, we can feedback what we learn.
مرحبا بكم أصدقائي، نحن في بث مباشر على قناة أسترودوز.
لهذا الحدث الكبير، وهو وصول دولة عربية لسطح القمر. طبعا الإمارات العربية المتحدة مشروع واعد لاستكشاف المريخ واستكشاف القمر. نعرف اللي الإمارات عندها مستكشف على سطح المريخ موجود عندها مدة يخدم، والآن هم في الطريق إلى استكشاف القمر. طبعا المشروع بشراكة مع شركة يابانية هاي سبيس. الشركة هذه اللي باش تهبط الروفر على سطح القمر. روفر راشد اسمه، أو المستكشف راشد، هو اللي باش يهبطوه اليوم على سطح القمر. طبعا في مثل هذه الأحداث الدقة ما هيش بالكيفية اللي نتصورها، لأن أمور الحسابات والتلكيل متاع الوقت إلى آخره مش مضبوطة. إذا هم أعلنوا أن الستريم متاع البث متاع الهبوط باش يبدأ على الساعة 4. بدينا على الساعة 4:30 تقريبا، عندنا ساعة من البث إلى حد الآن. قاعدين يبثوا في بعض التحاليل والتوضيحات للمشروع لعملية الهبوط. عملية الهبوط مبرمجة البلاصة متاعها في كراتير راجع شوية معلوماتي. الكراتير أطلس، كراتير متواجد في الجهة الشمالية الشرقية للقمر. إذن انطلقت عملية التصوير، أو إذن عندنا الإحداثيات حاليا. السرعة 4000 كيلومتر في الساعة. جست une simulation، مجرد سيميلاسيون هي. إذا قلنا المستكشف هذا يا راشد انطلق في اتجاه القمر يوم 11 ديسمبر 2022 على متن الصاروخ فالكون 9 فالكون 9، وعلى متن مركبة الهبوط هاكوتور، هذه تابعة لشركة اي سبيس يابانية. قطر الكراتير هذايا 87 كيلومتر وبعمق 2 كيلومتر، وهو ملاحظ حتى من الأرض نشوف فيه بالتلسكوب الكراتير هذا الفوهة. معرفش إذا كان الصوت واضح، تكتبولي في التعليق بربي صوتي واضح ولا نخلي الصوت بالإنجليزية أحسن. إذا عندكم تساؤلات طبعا أصدقائي أجيبكم قدر المستطاع. حاليا يوروا في الصورة متاع الكسوف الشمسي اللي تعدى نهار 20 شهر أبريل منذ بضعة أيام. هذاك الكسوف كانوا يوروا فيه. ضمن الصور هذه يظهر لي توا مباشرة. شوفوا التفاصيل المدهشة للقمر. شوفوا الأرض، من تصوير الأرض من القمر. مع الأسف مشكون إلى حد الآن لم يصدق أن الإنسان وصل إلى القمر وأن الأرض كروية رغم الصور المباشرة كما الصورة هذه. Donc nous sommes en train d'attendre l'atterrissage du Rover de l'Émirat. أصدقائي اللي مش مشترك يشترك في القناة، ادعموا القناة باش نجموا نواصلوا. مشكورين. ما يسالش ننزلوا حتى على جيم باش يطلع اللايف. مشكورين. Thank you to subscribe to the channel. You can find many videos for astrophotos or Milky Way, the moon, the sun. نجموا بعد ما يكمل البث المباشر نعملوا دورة في القناة. فما برشا فيديوهات قديمة. ثم كسوف الشمس، ثم كسوف للقمر، فما دي فيديو متاع طلوع ذراع مجرة درب التبانة، من برشا صور فلكية، أحداث فلكية. فما زاد دي توتوريال، دروس، شروحات للتصوير الفلكي. إذا نشاهدوا الآن عملية الهبوط وقع تخفيض في السرعة إلى 600 كيلومتر في الساعة. بكري كنا في 4000. ارتفاع الآن 5 كيلومتر فاصل 5. إذن اقتربنا من موعد الهبوط. 5 كيلومتر الآن. نشوفوا سطح القمر كيفاش ولا بدا يوضح. وضوح الصورة لشكل أو سطح القمر. الآن 3 كيلومتر فاصل 5. اقتربنا شيئا فشيئا من الهبوط، عملية الهبوط. 2 كيلومتر فاصل 5. شوفوا السرعة كيفاش انخفضت 200 كيلومتر في الساعة. واحد كيلومتر فاصل 7. إذن أقل من كيلومتر الآن. 100 كيلومتر في الساعة السرعة. نصف كيلومتر. واقتربنا الآن من سطح القمر. الآن يقترب من سطح القمر.
And our simulation might have lost its connection with the MCC. No reason for concern yet. We are still seeing the animation going. 3
الآن سيصل.
Only meters above the surface now. And now we are at the moment of
وأخيرا وصل.
landing time. Again, everyone, please give us a few moments to confirm.
وصل روفر على سطح القمر.
To maybe receive a message from our MCC soon. If that is not the case, then we will need a few moments to continue investigations, and we'll update you as soon as we get the information. Our MCC crew.
إذن مركبة الهبوط وصلت على سطح القمر.
Waiting to confirm. Everyone is laser focused right now.
المركبة هاكوتور في شركة آي سبيس اليابانية. ننتظروا في الكونفيرماسيون. لا أدري البرنامج الكونفيرماسيون هو جست ان سينيال من المركبة أو ننتظر أن الروفر يخرج من المركبة.
Our MCC ground team keeps working, confirms whether or not we can receive telemetry from our lander. So they are continuing to investigate.
إذن مبدئيا عملية الهبوط تمت. ننتظر تثبيت عملية النجاح الهبوط.
All different kinds of expressions here. It's really difficult to tell from our seats, and it is so difficult feeling powerless now, but all we can do is cheer them up and trust them.
إذا نشكر أصدقائي كل من التحق بنا الآن. نحن في مواكبة لهبوط المستكشف الروفر راشد لدولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة على سطح القمر بالاستعانة بشركة آي سبيس اليابانية. عملية الهبوط تمت وننتظر إشارة نجاح العملية. أرجو أصدقائي أن تدعموا القناة بالاشتراك، بالضغط على زر الإعجاب حتى نتمكن من مواصلة هذه المجهودات في القناة، باش تعيشوا معنا الأحداث الفلكية. Thank you to be here with us this live to watch the landing of the rover Rached of the Emirates. Thank you to subscribe to the channel. Merci d'être là avec nous pour ce live. L'atterrissage du rover Rached sur la Lune, sur la surface de la Lune. Merci de s'abonner à la chaîne.
Thank you everyone for your patience. I know everyone wants to know the status of our lander. I assure you, our crew is working on it.
Nous sommes en train d'attendre un signal de confirmation du succès de la mission, de l'atterrissage. Normalement, l'atterrissage est fait. Nous attendons juste un signal de confirmation. ننتظر في إشارة لنجاح العملية.
We will be with you again in a few moments. Thank you very much for your patience, and we will give you updates as soon as we have them. Thank you for your patience, and we'll be right back.
أنا عشت أحداث كما الأحداث هذه كما الدفاع الكوكبي لعملات النازا. بارفوا ما يتمكنوش من كونفيرماسيون الآن، ويعاودوا من بعد يعطونا صور أخرى، صور جديدة. بطبيعة الحال تنجموا من بعد نطلع على القناة إذا كان فما كونفيرماسيون، فما صور جديدة ننزلها على القناة. إذا البث باش يقف لهنا. كما قلت العملية نورمالمون تمت بنجاح. juste la confirmation. Peut-être après ils vont diffuser les images finales du rover lorsqu'il va sortir sur la surface de la Lune. Donc vous aurez ces images sur la chaîne. Thank you very much to be here, to be with us. Je vous remercie d'être là avec nous. شكرا أصدقائي. شكرا لتواجدكم معنا. إن شاء الله في فرص قادمة، في أحداث فلكية قادمة، ونشوفكم على خير. مشكورين، تعليقاتكم ديما تهمني. إذا كان فما تحسين، ثم مشاكل في الصوت في الصورة، ثم تحسين، ديما ماذا بيا تعطوني تعليقاتكم، وإن شاء الله نجم نحسن ديما في مثل هذا البث، في مثل هذه الأحداث. مشكورين أصدقائي، إلى اللقاء.